Hey everyone, you're watching In Studio. I'm Evan Reel, and today I am joined by Maggie Siff, the star of Billions on Showtime. How's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I'm so excited for season 4. It is right around the corner.
Yes.
So we're 4 seasons in. After 4 seasons, how does the anticipation feel leading up to the premiere of a new season? I'm sure it's such an exciting feeling.
Yeah, it is. It's always, we work so hard and we work for months and months and months, and then all of a sudden there's this it always hits me like a wall. I'm like, oh, it's about to be in the world. People are about to look at this and see this story, and it's like you're in this bubble for a long time, and then suddenly you're about to be exposed.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
And it's a little bit scary, but it's exciting too.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously you play Wendy Rhodes. She is a psychiatrist. She is the performance coach for Axe Capital, and you're also the wife of U.S. Attorney Chuck Rhodes, which is interesting because Chuck Rhodes' nemesis is your boss, Axelrod.
Yes.
What's your favorite part about playing that dynamic on screen? I'm sure it's really fun and interesting work as an actress.
Yeah, I mean, both of them are incredible scene partners. So there's this sort of individually with each of them, I feel like I have a very blessed working relationship, and and there are these relationships that are sort of evolving through the seasons. I guess, the long form of television is that you get to see these things that seem inexorably true about a dynamic shift and change and evolve. And the way that this dynamic has evolved is that my character has slowly brought them together.
Yeah.
And so in this season, they are finally allied with each other. And it's something that doesn't seem at all possible at the beginning of the first season.
I would have never expected it.
Yeah, I know.
When season 3 wrapped up, where were you hoping Wendy's story would go, and did the writers fulfill your dreams?
Yes, in a way they have. I mean, I've always grappled a little bit with Wendy, the question of Wendy, because, at the beginning of the series, she was very noble. She was kind of like the moral center and compass of the show. And while on some ego level, I think one enjoys that, on another level, I've always wanted her to be as equally kind of complex and rich as these other characters. And I think in the world of this show, that means that she needed to slide into some morally ambiguous ground and kind of get into the muck a little bit. And so, that was my hope for the character, but it's kind of this season is a little bit of a rough ride for her in that respect. And so, but as an actor, it's been filled with a lot of really interesting challenges and a lot of really shifting dynamics, and the character has really evolved over the 4 seasons, which is kind of the most that you can hope for in a long-running television series, to keep it interesting.
Definitely, yeah. It seems like her moral compass was very calibrated at the beginning of the series. The season 4 trailer, there's this theme of picking sides, but Wendy brings those sides together with Chuck and Axelrod. So does your character have to more definitively pick sides when it comes to her marriage with Chuck and her relationship with Axelrod?
I think Wendy has an enemy this season. I think, but it's neither Chuck nor Axelrod.
Oh,
I think,
all right.
I think the way we set it up at the end of season 3, so I think I can speak to it, is that Taylor deeply betrays both Axe and Wendy.
Right.
And so there is a common enemy, and there's enough common ground for those 3 characters, Chuck, Axe, and Wendy, to come together and set their aim on something and someone.
That's fun. Bonding over taking aim at someone.
Vengeance. It's so warm and fuzzy.
Such a bonding experience.
Yeah.
Now, who do you think is a better team, Wendy and Chuck or Wendy and Axelrod?
Ooh.
Or do they work better as a trio now?
I think they work better as a trio. Yeah, triangles are very powerful, right?
It's the strongest shape.
It's the strongest shape, and and there's this constant bouncing between the points and reinforcing the sides, and so I would say they kind of exist as a triangle in a weird way, at least on our show, But they occupy such different spheres, I think Chuck and Wendy are, though, as a married couple, kind of a fascinating portrait of a power couple, like a New York
Yeah, definitely.
power couple, and they're so strangely harsh and honest with each other, and their relationship has so many like levels, you know, like Axe and Wendy are just kind of like this, they have like a platonic love, and they have this company, and it's all, in a way, it's very clean.
Right.
Whereas Chuck and Wendy have this very messy, very supercharged marriage.
Right.
And you know, I don't know. They're different.
Yeah, can't compare them. Well, what about in real life? How do Paul Giamatti's and Damian Lewis's, how do their creative processes differ? Like, how is it filming a scene with one versus the other?
Yeah, they're pretty different actors, you know. I would say that I have used this analogy before, or metaphor. I think of Damien as sort of being like a ballet dancer. Like, he is super kinetic, and he's very like contained, and he refines and refines and refines and refines, and the effect is really like sort of powerful and cool. And Paul is like, he's a very like carnivorous actor, you know, like he just tries this, he tries that, it goes this way, it goes that way. It can be very messy, it can be very controlled, and you kind of never know what you're going to get. So you're like, if we stick with the metaphor of dance, you're doing like contact improvisation with him, right? Like, so it's, they're just like really different styles, but equally compelling.
What have you learned as an actor by working with each of them, since their styles are so different? Is there like a takeaway from working with each of them?
I just feel like working on television with great actors, because it's a long form and you get to do it over years, you just get better. I mean, I feel like working with both of them, but all the actors on my show who are phenomenally talented, like down the line. There's like a very deep bench of talent, and so I feel like everybody I work with, the thing that I've learned to do over the years is just play. Just like make every take different. Go wherever, like whatever I'm getting from anybody I'm working with is a really good choice.
Right.
And so all I have to do is respond to it honestly. And that means that, you know, there's a lot of variety in what we make from take to take, and the freedom in that has just grown as the seasons have gone by, and that's just like a gift.
After 4 seasons of really getting to know Wendy, what are your favorite parts of her? Are there pieces of her that you take with you when you're not filming?
I try. I mean, some of the pieces that I love about Wendy are, I enjoy when she's a little bit like haughty. Yeah. You know, like superior. Like that. Those tend to be like a little bit more of her. I want to say her lighter side. But when she can just sort of like, you know, or stare somebody down, or laugh at somebody. You know, like she has actually a really good sense of humor, and she's very good at adapting to whatever outrageous thing is coming her way in terms of people's issues and problems. And so I really love her, like her mojo, you know, like she has this amazing professional mojo. And that's probably the part of her that I like, find the most delicious. But I also love how, you know, strong and domineering she can be too. That's fun also.
Right, right. Where do you feel like you and Wendy overlap the most, personality-wise?
I mean, we're very different. I'm not nearly as smart as she is, and I'm not nearly as domineering as I think she can be. But I do think, I have often thought that if I wasn't an actor, I might be a shrink. So I think the part of her that can like really sit and listen, and just like really take a person in is something that I really connect with on a pretty deep level.
Oh, wow. Now, we obviously love the show for its high-stakes drama. When and if it ever feels too heavy on set, how do you decompress after a day of filming?
I mean, we have so many ridiculously funny people on set. I mean, both Paul and Damian are really hilarious, and
they keep it light.
They keep it light. I feel like everybody on my show, everybody is such a facile actor that like as soon as you call cut, like you can jump into song and dance and then like get right back to it.
So you're not stuck there.
No, I never really feel stuck there. I mean, I'm also somebody who can go home and be home. You know, like that's just something I've always been able to do. But yeah, you know, we just, and you know, we have so many amazingly funny people on set, like David Costable and Kelly O'Coin and Stephen Kunkin and Paul and Damien, and you know, it's just it is, and Dan Soder. I mean, people just make me laugh constantly.
Right. Yeah. Now, Wendy, she's been described as a badass and, for lack of a better term, a strong female character. And you've played remarkable women on Sons of Anarchy and Mad Men before. What kind of legacy are you hoping to leave by having played roles like this?
I feel like I need to come up with a better answer to this question. Yeah. I mean, I never really set out to play, like, you know, strong women, like capital S, capital W. But I feel that there has been I have been on a lot of shows that are very male dominated, where the subject seems to be about a kind of masculinity, maybe a toxic masculinity. And so, you know, in general, I feel like I've really only been attracted to roles where the women are layered and smart and passionate, and you know, like, I find them, they find me. I don't, you know, it's not super conscious on my
right. You just attract them.
Part. But you know, in terms of like, I do feel that as a woman on screen and in a medium that's really like penetrating culture, where there are a lot of eyeballs on it, like, to be somebody who is strong in the face of that, or who can sometimes serve as a counterbalance to those sort of prevailing winds of a certain kind of masculinity. Like, you know, I feel proud of that. I feel interested in that. I feel like our show has a really interesting conversation happening around gender, because the subject matter is a certain kind of toxic masculinity in some sense, and then you have these female characters that are kind of like very comfortable swimming with the sharks, but also are very feminine and feminized. And then we have a gender non-binary character, and I actually think like the composition of all those gender dynamics creates a conversation about gender that's not explicitly what the show is about, but is actually there if you're watching it carefully.
Does that feel even more significant in today's political and social climate, in the Me Too era and the Time's Up era?
Yeah, I mean, I think that our show, you know, the 4 years that our show has been on the air, a lot has changed, socially and politically. And I think our writers are very smart, and they're very tuned into what's happening in the culture, and they've evolved the show with the times in a way that I am really grateful for. Because I think 4 years ago, when the show was about two big men really like locked in a power struggle, like, that's one thing. But now it can't just be that. It's got to be a little bit more complicated, and there have to be some seriously complicating relationships and dynamics.
Now, on a lighter note, and before I let you go, after 4 seasons, I'm sure you've thought about it once or twice. I know I would have if I was on a show called Billions. But what would you do if you had $1 billion? How would you spend it?
You know, my sister, she's a teacher and a community organizer, and she has often talked about how if she had like a lot of money, she would have a game plan for how to give it away. And so I think I would talk to my sister about how best to give the bulk of that money away, because I don't really believe that billionaires should exist.
Wow.
I know it's like a controversial thing to say, but I feel that pretty strongly.
Yeah, well, that is not what my answer would have been. I would have like bought a mansion and 1,000 puppies.
I know, you thought you were asking me a light question.
I know.
Sorry.
It is all right, but very well said. Thank you so much, Maggie, for being here. You can see more of Maggie on Billions, airing 9 p.m. on Sundays on Showtime.